And now the radio show is starting.
There we go.
Dude, this is epic. Best day of your life, Terry.
It is. And it's just like 8 o'clock. So
yeah, I mean,
it'll get better.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's from all of us here on the most popular YouTube radio show on planet Earth that's ever happened, never will.
Yes.
I'm Eric Howerton. This is Brooke McNeely. And today we have with us
Terry Timmons with Blackbird Roasters.
beautiful, awesome. Little hand clap for Terry on that one, Brooke. I mean, just kind of,
Oh my God.
let's get it going here. Just roll on. There we go. Good
Yay.
job, Jingles.
Yay, it's Friday.
It's Friday, and we haven't had enough coffee yet, and it's all your fault.
Yeah.
We brought coffee, so there's plenty here now.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
That's
Wow,
crazy.
Amazing. So Terry, what do you do?
Well, I'm a coffee roaster.
There it is.
Hopefully you can see logos out in front of me somewhere.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, so it's
No, you really can.
Yeah, now you can definitely see that.
beautiful logo. Shout out to Zach Williams down at The
yeah.
Unlimited.
Yeah,
That's
Zach.
our logo down there.
Sweet,
cool.
man.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
So I mean, for people who aren't really into coffee, we buy the green coffee beans from farms and people overseas. You don't really grow coffee in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We roast them to what most people would recognize out of the grocery store or wherever they get their coffee, and then we turn around and sell that coffee to coffee shops, businesses, individuals, basically anybody who's looking to get some caffeine.
Awesome.
Nice.
So do you have a retail shop or?
We do not have a retail shop. In fact, that's on purpose. I am zero interested in having a coffee shop. I don't want to work coffee shop hours. I don't want to have to mess with the customers. So my goal is to make the coffee and sell it to people who want to do that. So we focus on coffee shops and businesses. We do subscription services through the mail.
Nice.
Then we do catering as well.
So, like for example, a company like Sea Ninja plus White Spider, would you bring us coffee that's already ready to go?
We definitely would. In fact, for some of our larger businesses that we do, we actually do private label for them. So we have specific coffee just for them, and we do free deliveries either weekly or bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Have 5-pound bags, 2-pound bags, kind of whatever they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
This is really good stuff.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Did you? So you roasted this yourself?
I did. So this is actually our Moon Dance blend.
Moon Dance.
Yeah.
Awesome. I don't get any. I don't even get coffee.
No, you don't need coffee.
I do need coffee.
You don't drink coffee, do you,
I
bro?
don't, but I'm
You're gonna act like you do today because you're on
Today I'm trying it.
because you're trying to be cool on camera.
I am. Yeah, I don't want to be left out.
I got you. Always ready.
FOMO. I don't want any.
Always the first one jump up and fit in.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I don't want. Yeah, I can't have. I can't have any FOMO here.
Are you a Me Tooer? You're a Me Tooer, huh?
Me Tooer?
Yeah, Me Tooer. You know, Terry and I are professional coffee drinkers, and you're like, me too.
Like, yeah, I'll drink some coffee today.
I didn't bring the tea. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Again, I didn't know.
It's okay. Cool. I know you didn't know. I didn't know.
You
Either.
didn't.
No one knew. Did I know? I didn't know.
Did you remember?
Spontaneous.
Yeah, I kind of knew the whole time. I just,
Just didn't tell
I
anyone.
failed to. Yeah, I just failed to tell people. So
Well,
that's
Which one is it?
what-
There it is.
that's my fail jingle.
It's your fail jingle.
I failed this morning. So tell us a bit about roasting, because you actually came into our office a few months ago and taught us a little bit about the coffee trade, and I thought it was pretty interesting about how, tell us a little bit about where the beans are sourced, and then what you do, how you get them, what they look like, and what you do to them when you get them.
Yeah. So beans, coffee beans. It's actually not a bean, but they're little berries. It actually, when they come off of a coffee tree, it looks like a cherry. It's got a little mucilage around it, and they've got to take it off, and inside you got 2 little, what we call coffee beans in there. It's pretty labor intensive to actually get them, grow them, and then pick them and process them.
So you're telling us in the world that there is a fruit from a tree, the coffee tree,
Coffee tree. Caffeinated.
caffeinated tree,
Really original thing.
the caffeinated fruit tree. Take the fruit off, and then inside the fruit, there's the beans.
Yeah, 2 of them. So you got this whole huge fruit, and you got those 2 tiny little beans inside.
2 beans?
That's it. Well, sometimes there's one that's called a pea berry, but those are kind of rare. So most of the time there's 2 in there. Yeah.
Interesting. So what happens? What do they do from there?
So they process it. So there's a couple different methods when they take off the outside of it, and it leaves you with the beans. They either use a water method or they use a natural method where they kind of let the sun dry it out. And then typically what you find is some of the smaller farms in these areas, so we're just going to use Guatemala because we get one of ours from a farm in Guatemala. They will join up with other farms in the area and send them to a processing plant who combines all of them and then they find a distributor who will export them.
So at the place in Guatemala, have they already taken the beans out of the fruit and then they send all the beans, or they actually send all the fruit?
They can do it either way. Typically, what they'll do is
I would just send the freaking fruit.
Yeah,
I know,
the fruit.
right? But I already picked this.
Exactly.
You take the beans out of the fruit.
And so you actually have people walking around with baskets, and they're picking the fruit off of the tree, and they get paid per pound that they pick. So these people are out there all day picking this fruit off the tree, and then they send them into the processing plants. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
There's got to be a lot of trees.
Yeah, it is a lot of trees. And the biggest problem with it, and one of the things you run into is doing it where it's actually good for the environment. Because coffee plants are actually supposed to be shade grown for the most part. And so you don't want it to look like cornfields where you knock down all the trees and then you just grow them, but that's also the most cost effective way to do it.
Sure.
So a lot of the farms now are starting to go to the shade grown where they try and keep some of the trees that are in there.
How do they do that? Just have bigger trees around that are...
Yeah, bigger trees around, and just less coffee plants that you can plant in those areas. So it's kind of a trade-off. Long term, it's good because it's going to keep your farm up and running longer. But short term, you've got less coffee that you can pick and sell.
Sure. Yeah. Business always comes into play.
Exactly.
I mean, economies, right?
Yeah. Well, the coffee bean was actually traded on the stock market in the early 1900s, and you can buy and sell futures and all sorts of stuff with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
Because we love coffee.
We do. Everyone. About everybody except you.
I love coffee.
I know.
I took a sip and I was like, that tastes like coffee.
That's what we're going for. That's
exactly.
Yeah,
We want to have
it like coffee.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it goes through the processing plant, and they're either taking the fruit off or they're drying out the coffee beans.
Right. And then they combine them as long as they're from the same region. So a lot of there's some different varietals of coffee plant that you can get, but if they're the same type of varietal and they're from the same area and the same altitude, you're going to get pretty similar tastes that come along with it.
Okay.
So they kind of combine some of the smaller ones. And then they've got two options. One, they can find people who are going to buy directly from them, which that's becoming a thing with the new third wave roasteries.
Is that the single origin stuff?
Yeah, so single origin, they're going to be from a single farm, or they're going to be from a single processing plant.
Okay.
And then if they don't do that, a lot of people use kind of a middleman in the U.S. somewhere, or anywhere in the world, not just for us.
Yeah.
And those people, have connections with people like me. The goal is I'd love to be able to get to Guatemala and go look at these farms, get to Brazil and get to Colombia, all these other places. But until I'm able to, I've got a middleman who I trust to do it the right way.
Gotcha.
That's who I buy it from.
Gotcha. So that you get just like huge bags of raw coffee beans.
So typically they come in 150 to 160 pound bags, somewhere in that range.
Dude, I could freaking totally curl.
Right.
Just freaking do some tricep extensions with those.
They come on a pallet, with 10, 15 bags on them.
Which is what then I would bench press the
right. Yeah. Give you a little bit of a challenge.
Right. So put 5 pallets together, I'll power clean them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like how just immediately registers in me how I can get freaking buff with coffee beans. Just saying. I don't know where that went, but it hit me.
You ever see big coffee roasters? We're all small because we're curling and bench pressing things.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then you do the coffee after you're done working out.
Exactly. You should have you know what? You should take your roastery, right? And you should put a CrossFit gym in there at the same time.
Yes.
There you go.
And you
Blackbird.
don't get to drink the coffee until you're done.
That's right.
With your burpees or
whatever
CrossFit people do.
Blackbird, roastery, and CrossFit.
Kind of like Skew Ninja, right?
Right, Skew.
Keep adding onto it.
Skew Ninja plus White Spider plus CrossFit plus Coffee House plus.
You guys have more room than I do, so maybe we should start it.
You want to do it in here?
Yeah.
We can probably.
We want to do a roller skating rink in here too.
Yeah. You pointed up there?
He wants to put a disco ball, and then so you can have lights on it, and then we can turn the lights up here.
That's
and then
cool.
Turn the music on, and just roller skating.
And that's faux?
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to do a lot of stuff in our office.
He does.
All right. So anyway, they get there, and then you have big roasting machines, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So I've got a roaster. So you have two different types of roasters. You have a drum roaster and you have air roasters. Drum roasters are kind of the industry norm, and kind of what you would expect. It's a huge cylinder that's and got gas flames coming up underneath it. Should be gas flames. Some people use electric, and it's going to rotate the beans. It gets hot. So obviously your bean is whatever room temperature is when you put it in there. When it's done, it's going to be typically over 400 degrees.
Wow.
So it roasted hot and it roasted fast. You typically look at somewhere between a 10 to 12 minute roast, just depending on what it is and how dark you're trying to
What does the roasting do to the bean?
So the main thing that it does is it releases the water inside of it. So every single bean has water inside of it. And what you're gonna get what's called first crack. So once it hits a certain temperature, it's an audible sound that you hear. And it's at that point, it's just slowly starting to get darker. It's kind of a dark yellow, a caramel color almost. And you're gonna hear it pop, and it's gonna sound like popcorn popping almost. And thousands of them going off in there. And that's the bean actually releasing the moisture that's on the inside. Cool. And that's once it does that, it'll start to get significantly darker after that.
Really?
Yep.
So it starts out green, right?
It starts out green. And before people figured out the roasting it, so I'm also kind of a history guy. I've got a history major. So coffee came from Ethiopia. Supposedly there's a guy named Kaldi who was walking his goats around. And his goats kept eating a plant and getting excited and,
getting jacked.
Yeah, exactly. And he couldn't figure out why. And then finally he narrowed it down to the coffee plant. And it took hundreds of years after that before they figured out to roast it and turn it into a drink. So they just chewed on the green coffee at that point.
Wow.
Somebody somewhere decided, hey, let's burn it and see if it tastes any better. And they did.
Humans have typically decided to burn things
Like,
right,
over the
this
years.
one better to burn it. Let's just set it on fire.
Put that on some fire.
Let's just
See what it tastes like after you put it on fire.
Yeah. It only tastes better.
It does. I mean, everybody likes things burnt.
Chewing on it, so.
Yeah. If you burn it, you're like, well, we can't chew on it anymore, so let's put it in water.
Right, exactly.
Well, think about it. It's like marshmallows. It's a good point, isn't it? To blow your mind. Everybody likes marshmallows. They taste okay, but you burn them.
I really love that. Put chocolate on them.
You
Same thing with
have chocolate.
Same thing with coffee. You put chocolate on it, it's even better. Coffee covered espresso.
There you go.
Yeah. Same thing with chocolate. You burn chocolate and melt it, and it's freaking syrup, man. It's freaking syrup.
Yeah.
Hot fudge.
I like it.
Come on. I'd rather have a spoonful of hot fudge any day than a big candy bar.
No.
Y'all too, I
I
know.
would agree with that.
Yeah.
Dip a marshmallow in it. Yeah, that's what
There it
it
is.
Dip a burnt marshmallow in it. And you got
There we go.
your happiness.
Light it all on fire.
That's really cool. So you get done, you roast all this up, you hear them start popping, and then you throw them in bags, like those bags.
Yeah. So we've got probably three of our. So we have little sample bags that we do, and these are three of our most popular that are on there.
Are these the sample bags?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are all 4-ounce bags. We've got 2 single origins on there, one from Guatemala, one from Colombia, and then we've got our house blend, our Moon Dance.
Yeah.
All of our blends are named after Van Morrison songs.
Oh yeah.
It's a marvelous night for a moon dance.
And side note,
How
we
come
are
y'all
not
didn't-
related with Van Morrison at all, so don't sue us.
Yeah.
Please don't sue Terry. Blackbird.
We're just fans, like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Chill out, man.
Yeah.
So you got Moon Dance, and then all your blends are named after
Yeah.
Van Morrison too.
Yeah,
So you're a big Van Morrison fan.
I am a huge Van Morrison fan.
Yeah, he's
He doesn't tour anymore, which is really upsetting.
Yeah.
He does random shows in New York City, and I don't live in New York City.
right.
so-
You have to go up there and just hang around and wait until he shows up.
Exactly.
That's cool. So then you mentioned earlier the different sizes that you have. So you have what would you say 8?
Yeah, so we've got, so these are our sample ones.
Yeah.
These are just for a box if somebody who's never had our coffee, maybe wants to try out some different ones. Our normal individual sizes are 12 ounces, which is pretty standard. I have no earthly idea why, but every coffee shop does 12-ounce bags. And then we've got a 2-pound bag, and then we've got a 5-pound bag as well.
Gotcha. So who serves your coffee around Northwest Arkansas?
So as far as service, the closest one's going to be Bike Rack.
Bike Rack,
Just
Springdale, little hand clap.
Yeah.
Hey, here we go for DT Springdale. Booyah.
Yeah, we love bike.
Good job, Rack. Yeah,
Bike
Bike
Rack's
Rack's kind of our
perfect.
second office.
It
Yeah.
is. It's where we go to have meetings.
Every time I'm in there, I feel like I see people from
You-
my spider.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, we're taking
We're there.
over.
Yeah.
Or walking down there or walking back, something
Yeah.
like that.
We dine and dash there a lot.
Oh, we pay for it.
They don't know where you live, so it's fine.
Like we always pay
We go
for
in,
it.
drink stuff, and then
Then
run
you
out.
just run out. Like, they're like, we're just putting it on your
We're in
tab.
the middle of the meeting. All right, y'all ready? Let's go.
We're gonna send you a bill at the end of the year.
No, actually, that's why they take our credit cards right when we walk in.
Yeah, they do. They're like, no.
Can you go ahead and start your tab, please?
Yeah.
There you go.
So they have it. Who else has it?
So they're the only coffee shop currently that has it. But we have,
Really?
yeah.
So what's your distribution then?
So businesses are typically what we tend to find. Our sweet spot is probably this business. I don't know why you guys don't have my coffee.
Wait, yeah,
dang.
we drink it all.
Yeah, we
yeah,
did. Yeah, we did.
That's true.
We drank like a 25-pound bag. of it.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot, and then we drank it all.
Yeah.
So while you're here, we need another order.
We can bring, yeah.
Hey, Brett, try not to derail the conversation.
Oh, my bad. You're the one who wants to set things on fire.
She wants to buy things. We can talk about
See,
that all day.
I know, you're the one who set things on fire.
Yeah. So we found our sweet spot is somewhere between 10 to 75 employees. And typically what they want is they want something that, says, hey, I like it a little bit better than Folgers. So we come in and we do the tasting, which we did for you guys.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, we bring in all our different coffee. We go through our whole spiel, talk about where it comes from, what we do with it.
That's awesome.
And then we set them up on deliveries. So we do weekly and bi-weekly deliveries for them. Typically they're the 2-pound or the 5-pound bags. And then a lot of times with someone, we take care of the equipment for them. So they've got these big coffee makers that they never clean, which kind of get disgusting.
And that really pisses you off.
Oh, it does. People ask all the time, well, why does our coffee taste bad? I'm like, well, when was the last time you cleaned your machine?
Yeah, it's your fault.
Yeah. I'm going to open this up, you're going to look at it and throw it away.
Yeah,
It's going to be disgusting.
Don't do it to ours.
Yeah, well.
It's a little.
Don't look over there,
Don't
Terry.
look over there. Just don't. There's nothing behind it.
Don't look behind me.
Don't look behind you. So most of your business is by catering over your whole bean coffee, it's been roasted, and subscription service, and that's what you do.
Yeah, that's what we do. And we do regular catering, so we'll actually bring in the already made coffee as well. Last week or this week.
What does that mean? Like it's already ready?
Yeah, we
like
bring
ready
in,
to drink.
Ready, yeah, with the the big catering boxes.
Really?
We did a mortgage broker convention just a couple days ago. There were about 60, 65 people, and they did it in the morning. Somebody else brought in the breakfast, and I brought in the coffee.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know that, man.
Yeah.
So would you bring me a cup every morning if I wanted to?
For the right price. Everything's for sale, right?
Everything's
$50 cup of coffee.
I know.
What is the best cup of coffee you love?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
It's totally worth it.
So I'd highly recommend everybody to have Blackbird come in and do your coffee spiel, because when he came in, it was really awesome. We sampled, I think, 6 different types of coffee, a few blends and some single origin. And he showed us how to heat up the water correctly, and we did that pour over method.
Yeah, we did the Chemex, which is what I made this morning. That's my favorite way.
Yeah, it made such a difference. Like I sat over there, I felt like like I was really wealthy and privileged, and sipped on coffee.
Sip on coffee. Do you hold your pinky out?
I did. I had my pinky out, and I was like, wow, this has some fruity undertones to it. With some a little splash of lavender.
Just like wine, you pick something smoky, fruity.
That's right.
Something like that, and you go with that with every cup. That
Yeah.
way,
little oat flavor to it. It's good. Hits the bottom of my palate just right. It's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd recommend anybody do that, because it's a really good education. And it's actually a cool little team building thing. I felt like having the staff around, sipping coffee, learning about it together is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Employees really tend to like it to break from the everyday.
Yeah, from the hard work that we
It is hard.
force.
It's so hard. It's stressful.
I know.
We're
It's
so stressed
you're
out.
so
We need
stressed
more
out.
caffeine.
That's right. That's right. To get through the stress.
Through the stress.
That's
Work
right.
longer, harder.
Yes.
So you're in Bycrack only right now.
Yeah, as far as coffee shops go, yes,
That's
that's
cool.
on the coffee shop.
Yeah. Well, that's good. A good place to start, man.
Yeah, and it was a connection. A friend of a friend heard that they were looking. They've been using somebody else, and they're wanting to go with their own brand, and they reached out to me. And
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
we got it
So it's
up
kind of
and
like their own brand, but you're the roaster behind it.
running. Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you don't ever want to deal with a coffee shop? Huh?
No, I don't.
mean, like you don't want to start one.
I've been in retail. I've owned several other businesses.
Yeah.
And I hate customers. Can I say that? Is that legal?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
you can.
It is so up to you.
Yeah. That's,
We love customers.
Yeah.
We do. We love them because we need them.
Now you guys are B2B though, right?
Not anymore. We do.
Well, yeah, we are technically,
Uh-huh.
but we're
What do we
B2B
do
for a
now?
B2C market.
Okay.
We do know what we do.
We don't know what we do.
I don't either.
I mean, today we know what we do today, but tomorrow we don't know.
There you go.
Because we're a marketing boss.
And we are always evolving because
And we're
we're a
dynamic.
speedboat
We are speedboat
and
amongst
dynamic.
battleships.
So,
Yeah, jumping waves. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, I caught every single bit of that. Nothing
I know.
wrong with that.
That's who we are.
Should have written
Clear
that down.
as mud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
But so you just don't like interacting with one-off customers. And
Yeah, that makes me sound like a curmudgeon.
No,
but,
I think it's-
I came from the cell phone world and dealing with angry cell phone people all the time. Just no.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do
That'll
with
leave a nasty taste in your
that.
mouth.
Well, and
Humans.
coffee shop hours. I mean, 6 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night. That just
Yeah, it's almost as bad as a donut shop.
Yeah, don't.
I mean, can you imagine getting up at 2 a.m. to make donuts every day?
no. That's why Krispy Kreme has a machine that does it for
They
them.
do. It's all artificial intelligence now. Artificially intelligent donuts. Well, so that's good. So what else do you have for us? Do you have anything you want to talk to us about in the land of coffee anymore?
Well, I'm sure I could talk coffee for hours.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys like? You like the history of coffee? Do you like, where the coffee comes from now?
Just how about this? Tell us why your coffee is superior to those of other coffees.
That's a great question.
There we go.
So, to get into that, we're going to have to talk about the industry of coffee altogether. So we're in what we call the third wave of roasting. The first wave of roasting was your big boys, so Maxwell House, Folgers.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah. And that's terrible coffee. They buy cheap Brazilian slave labor coffee, and it doesn't taste good. They burn it so that it's always consistent, and they pre-grind it and they send it to you. And who knows how long ago it's been roasted, and that's one of the key things that you need.
Sounds pretty tasty to me.
It's burnt.
We're done. Yeah, that's when you put the mic down and you walk out.
I understand. My understanding was the best part of waking up.
Yeah, that was a great jingle, right?
It was an epic jingle.
Yeah, it was.
You need a jingle.
We do need a jingle, don't we?
Yeah. Brooke can make you one. She's a jingle master.
I am.
Will you guys put it on here?
I'll let me put it on here.
I don't know if you have extra spot or not, but
I'll make room.
That's this jingle. It's just hand.
No, wait. It can be this one. Get ready for Blackbird coffee.
nice.
There you are.
I was expecting something else to come after get ready.
No.
That's it.
You can fill it with
my voice.
Stay simple with your branding.
I like it with your jingle.
So, so that's third wave.
So that was first wave.
Oh, that's
That was
first.
first wave. So that was.
What do you mean by wave? What are you talking about?
So and the second wave that came in was kind of
waves from the market.
Yeah, waves from the market. So that's going to be kind of your Starbucks.
Okay.
They're came out in the 60s and 70s. They paid a little bit more attention. They go, hey, this really doesn't taste very good. Maybe if we spent an extra 30 seconds on it, we can make our coffee taste better.
Mm-hmm.
Starbucks clearly took our nation by storm. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a Starbucks on every corner now.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Starbucks.
Yeah, I saw your Starbucks stuff when I walked in.
Yeah, we all saw that. I mean, why would you do that when we know
when
we knew that Blackbird Roasters was coming in? You hit up
I
Starbucks.
totally knew.
At least it was tea.
It was
I guess
tea.
that's better. I
Uh-huh.
appreciate that. And then third wave roasters came around. The original third wave roasters were this kind of Portland, San Francisco area blue bottle, which I don't even consider the third wave anymore. They sold out to Nestle. Sellouts. But they take it even a step further. Yeah, exactly. They take it a step further, and they kind of developed the relationships, cared about the farms, cared about the environment. That's when fair trade kind of came around. That's a really catchy buzzword. Single origin that popped up before these third wave roasters. You never saw anything like that. But they do micro roasting, which is a term again that people like to use. Doesn't really mean anything. If you do a lot of research on the internet, it sort of means 100 pounds or less on a roast, but doesn't exactly mean that. But even they pay special care to it, which is where we came in.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few of us starting to pop up around the nation.
So are you the third wave or are you like the fourth wave?
Oh, I'm the fourth wave.
Boom, I knew it.
Yeah.
I'm inventing. I know what I'm doing today. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
That's
There you
right.
go.
Boom.
Right,
Golly, that's
dynamic.
some good stuff. Good job, Terry. I love it. Fourth wave roasting.
Yeah.
That's epic.
Yeah. So we do it on a small scale. You walk into some of these places that you see the roasters, and they're doing 1,000 pounds at a time.
Yeah.
And again, what they typically do is they go beyond. They just burn it because that's how you get consistent. They take it from first crack all the way into second crack, and it's dark and it's espresso beans, and it's just not great. Keeping it small, we can make sure. I take a little sample out of every single roast that we do, and we taste it, we cup it, make sure that it's what we need it to be before we send it out.
That's good.
So keeping it small and keeping it workable is the best way to keep it.
Sounds like you're on kind of a bigger mission than just selling roasted coffee.
Yeah.
What is that mission?
Well, that's a good question. And my goal is to get rid of bad coffee. 6 or 7 years ago, I didn't drink coffee either. I was a tea drinker. My wife drank coffee, I drank tea. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd make a pot of tea and a pot of coffee. We'd each have a cup or two, and I'd dump out the rest. We talked about it and said, all right, one of us has to convert. And being the good marriage we are, it was obviously me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's not what I do.
Yeah,
That's not what I do, but I understand.
Right. We compromised, and I drank coffee. And it was terrible, and I couldn't figure out why it was so bad. I tried everything. We went to the Keurig machine, and it wasn't good. And we tried different coffee makers, and it wasn't very good. I ended up in a coffee shop up in Kansas City, and I was talking to the barista and said, hey, I don't like coffee, but I don't want to put milk and sugar and all that stuff in it because I don't want to make it bad for me. And they said, have you ever tried to pour over? And I said, no. And they made me one, and it opened my eyes. I said, oh, this is good. I probably spent an hour there talking to them, trying to figure out what happened.
Like, why is it so much better?
What is this? And I found out right there that you can roast at home. And I bought something called a whirly pop, which is it's made for popcorn roasting over a campfire. And I did that. I bought a pound of green coffee beans off Amazon, and I spent an hour outside in February roasting over my grill, and it was terrible. It was awful.
Yeah.
But you know, I got hooked on it. The first 2 or 3 coffee roasters I had, I built myself. Bought some George Foreman rotisserie things and modified them. And fortunately, never burnt my house down.
There you go.
Yeah, and eventually, 2 or 3 years ago, kind of got to the point where, hey, I'm either gonna have to make a business out of this, or I've got to stop roasting because I don't have time for it.
That's right.
And turn it into a business. So
cool.
My goal in all of this is to get rid of bad coffee. Most people drink it because they don't know there's anything different.
Yeah, we need to. Yay!
Yay!
There we go.
So why Blackbird?
So that's a good question. When we were trying to come up with a name for the company, I always try to tie personal things into it. That always makes it good. And it's been almost 5 years now. My wife was actually pregnant and had an early delivery, and our son didn't make it. And one of the things that you find out after those is there's a whole community of people who are like that. And one thing that represents the child that passed away too early is the bird that flew away. And so as soon as we were trying to come up with a name, the idea of Blackbird came up. And that's what we decided to go with.
Okay, man. Yeah, that's good. That's
a great story.
Yeah.
Well, man, we appreciate you coming on, Terry.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so how do people get a hold of you?
So the best way is going to be through our website. Social media, Blackbird Roasters. We have Instagram, BB Roasters, I think is our handle. Blackbirdroasters.com. Our phone number's on there. You can order anything that you want on there. There's a contact form on there, so if anybody does want us to come out and do the tasting for the business of any size, we'd love to come out and do that. Just hop on there and send us a contact.
Awesome. So folks, holler at Terry. Here we go. The outro combo. Holler at Terry. Have him come out and give a tasting. Build up your team. Enjoy your day. Drink good coffee. No more bad coffee.
No more bad coffee.
Please.
Good.
No more bad coffee, please.
Yeah.
Good job. Thanks, man. Appreciate your time today, Terry.
Thank you.
Good job, bro. Way to react this morning and get this together this morning.